This is going to be a spoiler review for the psychological thriller suspense drama quasi-horror film Exit 8, directed by Genki Kawamura. Now, I didn't know this at the time, but Genki Kawamura does direct a lot of solid movies. He did Confessions, Wolf Children, Your Name, among others, so he's a pretty high-profile director. I didn't know this. I just knew it was based off of a Japanese video game from 2023. So Genki wrote this movie with the creator of the video game, and I wanted to get into why I didn't quite enjoy the film. So the basic plot of the video game is that you have to go into the repeating series of tunnels, subway tunnels, and if the basic rule is, if you spot an anomaly, you turn back. If everything seems to be okay, you go forward. If you complete a consecutive number of successful pass-throughs, you get to leave via exit 8. And if anything catches you off guard, like you miss a doorknob or you miss a spot on the wall or something weird, then you reset to 0. And it's kind of like a platformer video game where it doesn't matter if you did 90% of the platforming fine. If you missed the last jump or you jump into an enemy, you lose, you start over. So this movie adopts, it's kind of hard to adapt, such a simple video game. It's like, I heard the video game can be completed in 20 minutes to an hour to 2 hours. So it's hard to make an entire video game based off that. So they had to add backstories to the characters. There's 3 central characters in the movie. The first is the Lost Man. At the beginning of the film, he witnesses a woman being berated on the subway because her baby's crying, but he doesn't do anything because it's a packed train. He just puts on his music and he gets a phone call from his ex-girlfriend who says she's pregnant, and she's at the hospital and tells him about it and asks what he wants to do, like what should she do, and he kind of ducks the question and gets evasive. He doesn't want to deal with it, and his phone connection cuts off, and he ends up in the tunnels. I'm gonna call them the tunnels, but the tunnels are a repeating series of a same subway sort of thing. So he walks down, and there's a bald man with a briefcase and a phone, 7 posters on the wall, several doors, and a photo booth, some garbage, and some lockers. And he figures out the rules. Gives him a learning curve because there's lots of weird stuff he doesn't notice. But the first couple times he's okay. He has to complete, I think it's 7 successful consecutive pass-throughs. And the one thing I really liked about this movie is the psychological nature of the trials, because sometimes it's something as simple as, oh, the doorknob's design is in the middle of the door, or this sign is off because the faces are swapped. Something really subtle that you wouldn't notice. But the first time that he gets completely flummoxed is he's walking down, everything seems okay, and he gets a phone call from his girlfriend again, and she tells him hey, where are you and stuff, and I miss you, and he talks to her and goes, I'm not really sure if that's an anomaly or not. So he walks forward, and it was an anomaly. So he completely has to start over again. He has a breakdown because he's got asthma and he's running out of water. And then we cut to the second character, the smiling bald man that's featured heavily in the marketing. We find out his origin. He's basically was trapped in the tunnels as well. However, he lost, so now he's part of the tunnels. And you do get a little bit more backstory because he was with a little boy, and the little boy ends up being one of the main themes of the story, but also the third act as well. And I think the third act of the movie is really weak, and I'll explain why. Whenever they have to deal with the tunnels and it's something subtle, like a design change or something trying to trick you, the movie works. The movie's amazing because you're on nerves. You're like, oh, I don't want to start all over again because it's gonna suck. But something the movie adopts is sometimes the anomalies are really over the top, like blood coming from the ceiling, fake person just standing there. One of them has a literal, the lights go out and the room fills with giant rats with human body parts fused to them because he saw a story on it on his phone. That was just it's not subtle. It's not scary because it's like, okay, clearly this is an anomaly. We know it's, whatever. The only fear you would have is, getting lost and running down the wrong hallway, which would be a cool tactic. But another one is just a straight up tsunami. Just a straight up tsunami in the tunnel. It's not even how do you escape that? You can't go forward, so there's no threat. And it's just, they have this long flashback where obviously the the main theme is that the lost man, he's worried about being a father. So he wants to duck his responsibility of helping his ex-girlfriend raise the baby or convince her to get rid of it. I'm not really sure what the abortion laws are like in Japan, but basically the little boy helps him get his father sort of, you know, daddy energy, basically, his father energy. And he saves the little boy from the tsunami and manages to escape. And then at the end, it's a repeating sort of scene of the first part of the movie, but this time he decides to say something. And I thought the movie was not very subtle in this regard. You don't need the repeating scene at the end. And I felt like the sort of anomalies should have been more subtle. They should have been, like, imagine you're walking down the tunnel, you see the man, everything seems to be okay, and then a police officer comes from the other side and goes, "Oh, I've been looking for you two. You know, you two have been lost for hours. Let's go down, let's get you out of here." You know, that'd be weird, right? And that I would like more psychological trickery and torture versus just straight up physical attacks, because they're not scary. And the movie does it like 3 or 4 times near the end, especially as they get closer to the exit 8. So that was what really the takeaway for me. I like the emotional parts. Obviously, the young boy is a reflection of his own, you know, lack of wanting to be a father. It's pretty blatant in the flashback scene when they're on the beach together. But overall, I mean, they could have had a better button at the end too, like, instead of like him stopping the beration of the woman, he could have just like been eating pizza with the little kid or something, or, you know, like until the mom shows up or something, you know, like they could have done a little bit of a better job. And it's obviously tough because you have to add in all this fake backstory. None of this backstory is in the video game. You know, that's part of the liminal space of the game. The movie itself is a different medium though, and you can see how difficult it is to add in all this stuff. Like, how do you make Tetris like a sci-fi epic, you know, of like having to lay down blocks? It's really hard to add a human element, human emotions, and it did get all that correctly, but I didn't like the psychological stuff getting pushed aside for physical attacks, for anomalies. So that's my spoiler review of Exit 8.